Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Who Dat Jedi podcast. This is episode 209 for your playbooks. My name is Aaron, and with me, as always, the other members of the Who Dat Jedi Council, Dave and Fredo. How are we doing, guys?
Doing good.
Doing pretty well, but I do have to, raise a point of contention here. This is technically episode 208 because of the lost episode.
Well, no, we're going to keep it at 209 because I'm not going back and changing file names. We heard that episode. It was an awesome episode. It was a great
We live.
episode. We heard it. We lived it. So it's in the multiverse, Dave, which we're going to be talking about a little bit tonight because tonight our topics are well. First of all, the first two episodes of Agatha All Along, the new Marvel series, is out, and we've all watched that. And the other one was the Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy, the three episodes or four episodes, four episodes, yeah,
Oh,
of the Lego Star Wars. I'm using air quotes here. What if, type of a thing. So yeah, we're gonna just talk about that. I mean, nothing earth shattering on either one of them. I probably. I don't know. It'll be just fun a little bit of fun discussion about new stuff, and we're getting close to like all the new stuff because Skeleton Crew is going to be coming up, and so hooray! Um, but okay, so the Saints start 2-0, and then we lose to Philly, and then our offensive line is getting destroyed because Eric McCoy is going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks probably, and so I don't know. Are you guys feeling like you could step in and play offensive line for the Saints? They might ask us.
I did it in high school, so why not? I'm sure their playbook is slightly bigger than the high school football playbook, but those are all habits like riding a bike. You just get on the pads and uh, try to block people. I did laugh. A lot of people trying Saints fans are trying to reach out to Jason Kelsey, see if he wants to come out of retirement. I highly doubt he will.
Yeah, he's making
Um,
commercials and having fun sitting in the press box, making a lot of money just talking.
mhm.
Um, Now, I would not be a bit surprised if, you know, we would trade a Marshawn Lattimore for a couple of able-bodied, you know, linemen. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know, but that was the whole thing. Every NFL season is this way. Every college season is this way. It's like all it takes is for one
Yeah,
injury to
yeah,
just
a couple of injuries, and
go
I mean,
from high hopes to oh my lord, the sky is falling. Um,
this is why they always talk about the depth at the college level, and that's why the top programs stack depth the way that they do. It's just that's how you survive
you
it.
know, I, I have a big problem. I can't. One of my so you if you ever want to see my wife like go through the roof, it's when anybody um, talking about sports says that the team controls their own destiny. She hates that overused uh, line. The one I hate is it's the next man up. It's the next man up. It's like that has never been the case. That has never been the case with very few exceptions. It's like, um, you know, Tom Brady being one of them. Aaron Rodgers being another. Well, I guess not really Aaron Rodgers, but this whole next man up. It's like I think there is such a drop from your starters to your second stringers. And again, they're still the best players in the world, but it's like your starters are starters for a reason. And if you think that the next guy can just come in and start doing it the same way, I would like to think so, but it's not the case. So anyway, oh well.
It's I think the difficulty here is it's there, the talent gap between the not just the talent gap, it's massive between starters and backup. but also the amount of repetitions, practice time that they get together is significant, and you can't really replicate that or
100%.
on the fly.
Right.
And particularly, it's one thing when you say, okay, a running back, a wide receiver, a tight end, because yes, there's some stuff where they have to be involved, know where they're going to be, but offensive and defensive line is so. And I say that as somebody who did that for like a hot minute, you have to know where your teammate next to you or the two teammates to the side of you are going to be going. Because depending on what the call is going to be, what the protection package is going to be, or what the run blocking scheme is going to be, you may have to go forward. You may have to tuck in behind somebody. And that's why you practice that over and over and over. And
Well, it's
it's why it's, if you don't have good offensive line play, you go nowhere in this league.
well,
Period.
and it's like what it's very much like any band where it's like, hey, they people tend to not have people sit in with a band or hey, our bass player will take a seat while you come in and play bass with us. That I mean the band has to be so in tune with each other, like, and not in tune in a melodic way, but I mean just
Mhm.
like you said, connected, and to know that if something happens, I know the guitar player is going to do X, Y, or Z, or the drummer is going to do A, B, or C, and you throw in one odd person into the mix, and like I said, the whole dynamics just go nuts. So it will be interesting. Let's hope we can beat the Falcons.
Falcons are having issues on the line too, so
You
that's
know,
the
Mhm.
and well, and
potential saving grace.
the other thing is we have a brand new offensive coordinator, so we're going to see how good he is as a coach and a teacher. So because that matters. That matters. So anyway, okay. Well, everybody go light a candle for the Saints, and you know, but
Or your team of choice.
we're your team of
Yeah.
choice, right? Um,
No injuries. No injuries.
yeah.
Mhm.
So cool. All right. Well, let's get into some Star Wars trivia here. Dun, 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 dun. All right. So, Dave, I'm going to go you first.
All right.
All right. So, who opts to console Anakin by mentioning the Jedi story about his mother and the Sand People? Who opts to control Anakin by mentioning the Jedi's story about his mother and the Sand People?
It's interesting the way that that's phrased
I
because it's
agree.
like the Jedi story. I'm like, but I think this is the good old Sheev Palpatine.
It is Chancellor Palpatine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. That is interesting. The Jedi story about his mother. I mean, he just said, "Remember what you." Oh, well, he's talking about the Jedi's, as in Anakin was the Jedi. So Anakin's story about his mother and the Sand People.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
get you.
it's a
Yeah.
poorly written question. So
Yeah.
if this was bar trivia, we could throw a
Could have got
fit.
tripped up. Yeah.
Yeah, throw a fit. But you got it right. Good job. Way to trust in the Force. All right, Fredo. This is the one I look
Mhm.
at. It's the first one I saw. Who does Count Dooku greet as, quote, my old Jedi friend? Who does Count Dooku greet as, quote, my old Jedi friend?
Of course. Now I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think because there's a couple of ways. I'm gonna say the first one came in my head, which was Mace Windu.
It is Mace Windu.
Yay! Yeah, because at first I thought maybe it was Obi-Wan, and then I thought maybe no, it'd be Yoda, but no, it's. Then I started thinking, no, it's Mace Windu, and that's the one that popped to the top of the
Wouldn't have
list.
been
So glad.
wouldn't have been Obi-Wan because when he
Yeah.
captures him, that's the first time they meet.
And it would have been Yoda because like now a master. So
Right.
does.
Way to go. Deductive reasoning, kids. So if when you're in the doing the ACTs, there you go. Maybe there'll be a Star Wars question on the ACT. All right, to me, what two warriors does Yoda thank for helping him escape from the clone troopers? What two warriors does Yoda thank for helping him escape from the clone troopers? Okay, Yes. All right. I got thrown for a second there as well. But
Hmm.
okay, so we got to make sure that I say the name correctly. The first one is Chewbacca, and the other one is Tarful. It is Chewbacca and Tarful. Yep. And I don't know. What do you guys think about? I know you guys like episode three better than I do, and you can't say I don't have a problem with it. What do you think about Chewbacca being in episode three?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Shut up.
Yeah, no, I mean, on the big scheme of things, it's such a minor moment. I will say, I'm not usually a fan.
What do you
Well, it's
mean a
all the stuff
minor
like
moment?
Dave.
Yoda jumped on his shoulders.
But that's the point. He's a minor character. This is not Chewbacca piloting the Millennium Falcon. This is not Chewbacca, involved in all this. This is, that's kind of my point. Outside of something like Rebuild the Galaxy, I'm not necessarily a fan of these moments where all these characters kind of meet at this point, and isn't it cool that they're bumping into one another? And I'm just like, if you're gonna do something with it, great. But all it showed us is that Chewbacca was with Tarful during the Battle of Kashyyyk, and he kind of knew Yoda, but that was it. It's like,
Yeah, but
what it does. It tells us nothing about either characters. Guess what I'm
I don't
saying?
know. It makes episode four and five a little bit. I mean, a little bit awkward because Chewbacca is like arguably just as much of a skeptic as Han. You know, and when he's saying, where'd you dig up this old fossil? That moment, and it's has seemingly kind of no like respect for somebody who's saying they're a Jedi. I mean, he fought alongside. So I don't know. I I mean, on one hand, it was like, yeah, okay, it's neat. Chewbacca's there, but on the other hand, I wish it just would have been other Wookiees. I'm with you. I don't like the like everybody. You know,
No, everybody, right?
you know, uh, Abraham Lincoln's son saves John Wilkes Booth's brother from a train accident. It's like okay, that's not everything has to be like that. So, anywho, all right, well, our brains are now warmed up and ready for Star Wars, but we got to do some news first. A couple news
So,
bits.
yep, yep. Okay, let's do right quick. Let's do the one bit of news because it's not, no, not the biggest, but it's also quite interesting. So it was confirmed this week by Penguin Random House that next year, believe it's going to come out uh, sometime in like May 2025. Charles Soule's Trials of the Jedi will bring a curtain on the High Republic plot. So, Light of the Jedi opened it up a few years back. They've had a whole series of books, young adult books, comic books, etc. This will be the final chapter where they finally close the big battle between the Jedi and the Nihil, who are there from they've been fighting through the High Republic series of books. Actually, no, June 17, 2025. So that'll be it for that publisher line.
How many, Dave? You've read the first High Republic book, right?
Yeah, I read the original, and then I read the YA book from Daniel, um, and but that was as far as I got with it.
Fredo, you at all?
Yeah, I think I read Light of the Jedi. I have it here, and I picked up a couple of other books. I'll be honest, this is, and I don't know, Dave, when you were reading, I don't know if you read the new Jedi Order books line when that came out 20 some odd years ago. Did you, Aaron?
No.
Yeah, well, it was similar in nature. I mean, you had like basically five big novels that would, be the big moments, and the first one was famous because they literally dropped the moon on Chewbacca. They killed Chewbacca.
I heard about that.
And then yeah, and then exactly, and then they had Han and Leia's kids too. Their son turned to the dark side. This is kind of what started, and their oldest kid die in like a chapter, no, the third book. But the problem with it is, it wasn't a problem, but the way they did is then they had other side stories and other paperback books and novels. If you're trying to condense, wrap your mind around it all, it's way too many books. So at least I was it was nice of them to say this. If you pick nothing else, pick up these five. Whereas I feel like it's really gotten quite difficult to know, okay, where's the main storyline going and where does it diverge? Because it's a lot.
So
I'm a slow reader, like full confession. It
so
takes
am
me a
I.
little
Yeah.
while. I can't focus. I have to like unplug from everything else and really stare at the thing. And if they're coming out every couple of months, that's a little bit of an ambitious schedule for someone like me because I mean, like I can get through a book in a couple of months, but then I'm like committed to only reading Star Wars and nothing else. And
Yeah.
you know, with everything else that we have available to us, all the other entertainment options out there, again, like to me, that if the books were a little more spaced out, maybe I would have had a better opportunity to read them all at this point.
I think it would be interesting if their next big animation push would be some sort of, I don't know. I mean, it could be a retelling or just play, kind of a Star Wars Rebels or Clone Wars type, series, but of the High Republic, telling that following that overall storyline, and so people could get kind of a little bit more versed in it. I'm like you, Dave. I'm a slow reader, yes, and I can't be distracted. There can be no music around. There can be basically no noise anywhere. Um, yeah, and when things do come that fast, it's like, ugh, yeah, it's tough.
And, and one of the interesting things is we did get the Acolyte, which was at the tail end of the High Republic, kind of when it starts making that transition away from that period. But it's interesting that outside of that, we haven't gotten any animated shows. I mean, we've gotten comic books, but we haven't gotten more exploration of it. So I do wonder if, even though the book line is going to be to a close, it's something that Star Wars will be interested in. Okay, mining for further adventures and whatnot, because it's very fallow soil. I mean, you
and
could do whatever story you want.
and beyond the, like, whatever, the Young Jedi Adventures, the cute little
Mhm.
kid one. So, but anyway, I don't know. So Lucasfilm, if you're listening, yeah, maybe that's your next animation uh,
Right.
gig. So, all right.
And
Okay.
Oh,
I'll also admit that it didn't capture my interest right away. Um, the original novel I thought was solid. It was pretty good, but the story didn't really grab me. And like the Thrawn books, by contrast, I really enjoy, and so I just keep going back to them. And if they were to release a new Thrawn book a few months from now, I'd probably be all in it. Um, so you know, again, just different tastes for different folks.
well, but that's a very interesting thing. Let's take just a little tangent here because I think
Hmm.
that's really interesting. Because you uh, were you, did you read the Timothy Zahn trilogy when it came out back in the 90s?
See, no, and I'm
Okay.
reading it now,
But okay,
but
so however, watching Rebels and having that interaction with Thrawn, what I'm getting at is that interest has a lot to do with, I'm going to read that book. I've said, if Fredo was to come and say, "Hey Aaron, you need to read this book. I think you'll really like it." Chances are slim to none that I am going to read that book, because it wasn't within me to go, "Oh, I dig that subject matter. I dig it. I didn't have that interest in it." Um, so that, what I'm getting at is that the Thrawn books speak to you because you understand, you've had taste of the character of Thrawn. It's, you kind of understand a little bit what's going on. So it's like, I want to dig deeper into that. The High Republic was something totally new, and is like, had really no bearing on our Star Wars universe as a whole. So it was kind of like, if I don't read this, it's not going to disrupt the rest of everything that I've read and watched, and so I'm not going to be as drawn to that. So
they also deliver though, and that's the big thing for me. It's like when I read these books, for me they deliver.
the
Zahn
the
tells
Thrawn
me a
ones,
really compelling story, and I end up enjoying it. Like if I'd gone and read one Thrawn book and it had been mediocre, I might have bounced.
Yeah.
So it's gotta be both, right? A little bit of both.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, what's interesting is thinking back to like the Knights of the Old Republic video games line and all the Old Republic MMORPG, because that's those games are set 4,000 years in the past, and the way they kind of figured out a way around it was simply, yes, it's 4,000 years in the past, but the Star Wars galaxy is timeless. So therefore, even though they have ships that look kind of like the ones we know, they're not the same. There's many of the same species speaking the same languages. So even though it's supposed to be, it's like, if you're trying to set a story in America 4,000 years in the past, you know that they wouldn't look or sound that nothing would be like ours. But they're able to get away with it, and that's kind of the simple hook. Like, yeah, these are characters that are new and different, and it's not what you know, but at the same time, it feels the same way. So
But
here,
that
come
was
along,
also
kids.
that was also during the time when it was suddenly that Star Wars wasteland, where we've had no Star Wars and suddenly we have, the EU. And so now when you can't swing a cat without hitting, you know, some Star Wars show, comic book, whatever. There's so much. We've talked about it before. There's so much to choose from that you can kind of pick your poison. Um, so, all right, well,
Mhm.
cool, good on them.
Well,
So, but at some point, I'll need to do something to get versed in the High Republic. I will say I've said it before about the Acolyte. I was let down that the Acolyte didn't the High Republic didn't look any different than what Star Wars looked like in the prequels, really. I
that's
know that we're talking in the grand scheme of things, we're talking about a little slit, like 100 years is not all that big a deal. But I was hoping for something like a lot more than just robe color. But anyway,
mhm. Yeah, no, and I think that's kind of the fine line. You can make it feel similar without making it look almost exactly, but again, it's always an interesting fight that you have to have.
yeah.
Speaking of fights, and well, this one's not going to be news. It's more rumor. It's been kind of floating out there a few days. And in the last episode, we kind of discussed how Natasha Lee Bordisa had come out saying that Ahsoka season two wouldn't film until after Mandalorian and Grogu had come out, which we know is not coming out till 2026 and whatnot. So the reports started coming out late last week that the new Jedi Order movie that's being made with Daisy Ridley, where she's returning as Rey, is now not going to be start filming until 2025, so next year. Which for a lot of people immediately meant panic stations. Oh my God, they're canceling the Rey movie after the Acolyte, and some people are like, yes, get rid of it all. And I'm just like, it takes a lot of effort to make a movie. They're trying to get it
Yeah,
right.
but this is like, it's like watching the Saints. It's like if Saints fans going, here we go again. It's like that 61-yard chunk that Philly got on us. It's like, after we've been riding high, it's like all of a sudden it's like, ugh, here we go. And so, I mean, so no, I don't think that the world is ending, but I am. There's a big part of me when you say it's been delayed. I'm like, what's the meme? Shocked. I'm shocked.
Mhm.
I'm not that shocked, and yeah, I know that it takes time to make a movie, but
Mhm.
if you want to get one made, and especially when you have the money that Lucasfilm is dealing with and Disney is dealing with, it will get made. So something
Mhm.
sounds amiss, but that's just the cynic in me. So
Well, and just before Dave jumps in, it's the kind of thing that happens all the time in Hollywood. You're not necessarily happy with the script, you take it back, or you're trying to get all your financing in order. Again, Disney has all the money in the world, but even they can't just start making everything at once. They have to kind of line stuff up. Right now, we know Don Favreau and Dave Filoni are making Mandalorian and Grogu. Okay, so maybe let them come off principal photography, start working on the post stuff, and then let the team making the new Jedi Order movie get involved or get started with their stuff. At the end of the day, this is a movie that's not going to see the light of day till 2026 at the earliest.
I always fall on the side of good when something gets delayed. Good, uh, it'll probably end up better rather than rushing through a production. with a bad script, an idea that people aren't sold on, um, not enough time to massage the visual effects, et cetera, on and on. If for any reason you can come up with a tighter window, is generally worse for the final product, in my opinion. So, just the fact that they're not going to be filming for a little while, I think is I take it as positive news. I personally just look at it that way.
That's fair. And again, I agree with you. I want good Star Wars. I don't want, quick Star Wars, but it comes back to my old argument of, then if there is a script problem, or if you don't have a script, then don't announce that this stupid movie is coming out until it's like, we like this script. We've got, and until you are like, for example, I think it was the Filoni Grogu movie, or I don't know. No, not that one. I don't know.
Oh, you mean
What,
the Dawn of the Jedi movie or
no,
Rogue
no.
Squadron?
I'm just saying. Wait until you are in like the pre-production. You've been rolling for 6 months. Then announce, hey, we're making this movie, and we've got a script, and here's the cast and everything. Don't go out in Star Wars Celebration and announce 3 big movies, or go to D23 and announce that you're making Lando as a TV show, and then only to have, because it just looks bad. Again, it just looks like you don't know what you're doing. And I see your point, David. I'm 100% with you, except for the facts. Just like, then don't announce, because how many of us had no idea that the prequels were getting made until all of a sudden it was like, we're making uh, you know, episode 1, and, we're off and running, at So that's a problem. We didn't have, internet wasn't what it was. It wasn't what it is now. But again,
But to your
you can
point,
keep things under wraps, and just don't. It just seems like, again, I'm just kind of going, okay, well, now if I was a betting man, I'd put money on the fact this movie ain't getting made. That's where my money would go. So
but to your point, the issue here is, and it's not just Disney, but all Hollywood for a variety of reasons, is they use movie announcements as a mechanism to drive stockholder prices, share prices. You know, they don't, this isn't done at, oh my gosh, yes, we'll show a trailer at E23, or we'll show this at Star Wars Celebration. But the big
well,
announcement, oh, we're having our stockholders phone a call, and that's when Bob Iger says, oh, we're making Encanto 2 and Frozen 5 and Toy Story 27, and we got this new Star Wars movie and this new Marvel movie.
well, your
That's all
point.
designed to drive the
Yeah,
price of the
well,
share up.
and guess
But the
what?
problem
It
is,
ain't working. Your point is making my point. Disney's stock
no, no, no.
price is bad, and it's because they do stupid stuff with the parks, and they promise shows that don't get made, so nobody trusts that company to do anything.
That's kind of my point, is that at the end of the day, Bob Iger got his stock share price to go up after that big phone call, and it's not up to him to whether or not that project comes out and gets made. Doesn't matter, because that you're talking. I'm cashing in a check that I wrote for 5 years from now, and if it doesn't come together, well, you know what? I may not be here. It's somebody else's problems. Who cares? It's a bad circle or cycle that Disney and a lot of other corporations get into, where they're making promises for long distance future to get money now, not really recognize that at some point you actually have to come up with something. Otherwise, like I said, people don't trust you.
I just want to know that a Star Wars movie is coming out by, somebody posting a picture of, I took a picture from the, balcony of the complex, a parking garage across from the lot, so you see somebody dressed in a Mandalorian outfit. That's how I want to know that a Star Wars movie is coming out. Don't, like I said, don't announce it unless you have all the ducks in a row. Dave, you want to go? And then
Yeah,
final
very
word, final
briefly.
word.
Well, I wanted to just touch on the fact that like some of the reasoning for why you get these announcements the way that you do, it extends above and beyond just building hype, which is that you sign an actor and that stuff leaks. it leaks. It leaks quickly. And so if you have Daisy committed and attached and ready to go and cleared out her schedule and you offer her all the money in the world and you've got her on the hook and you know that this celebration event is coming up with the fans all there and it's like, well, we can just let it leak through the press or we can kind of hype it up at this event.
Well,
That's how I see where some of those decisions are made
and
in this regard.
and as you just say that now, I'm going to cut him a little bit of slack because we're guessing as to why this has been delayed. But the other part of
Mhm.
it, we haven't. I don't think we reported it on here at all. Daisy Ridley was diagnosed with some sort of disease. I can't remember which one it was. Here I can do a quick Google search, but I mean, so there may be. I mean, God forbid, but who knows? Maybe there's some health reasons.
Graves'
Graves'
disease.
disease. So you know,
That
but
doesn't sound like a fun disease.
so anyway, but like I said, it's just yeah. I mean, it's promising. Promising that you're going to take your kids to Disneyland, you end up taking them to storybook land and City Park, but it's yeah, I don't know. I just
Park was closed, kid. The moose outside should have
right.
told y'all.
So anyway, all right. Well, at least we know that they are filming Mandalorian and Grogu, the most awful titled movie ever. I'm still hoping that there's a new title. Um, But of course, I did say when somebody asked me when Episode 7 title came out, they said, "Hey, Aaron, what do you think of the title?" Force, because it was controversial, right? And I said they could call it Episode 7: Big Pile of Bantha Crap, and I'm still going to go see that movie with a smile on my face. So I will still go with Mandalorian and Grogu. But anyway, all right, that all the news.
That's it. That's it for news.
All right, well let's talk. Let's shift over to Marvel for a second. And the Agatha All Along, which is the spin-off from WandaVision. Um, the first two episodes dropped last week, and I guess next episode comes out tomorrow. Is that right? We're
Right.
recording this on a Tuesday, everybody. Um, so, um, what'd you think? Jedi rocks the movie.
Well,
Dave's sending
uh,
stuff in the chat.
I like the way that they tied at least the first two-thirds of that first episode with WandaVision by tying it to a different TV series, with, or style series. In this case, the very popular in the early 2000s Danish crime drama, which I don't know if you guys ever seen. It's the you ever saw stuff like The Bridge or The Killing. There was around the mid to late 2000s. There was a very strong adaptation, both in the UK as well as the US, of Danish and Swedish crime dramas, which feature like a hard-boiled female detective with a mysterious past and a lot of trauma, trying to solve this horrendous crime kind of thing. I love the fact that they started that way, and then they went around to explain why it is that Agnes, aka Agatha, was caught in it. So, first two episodes in, I'm just like, this is perfect Halloween fair. We just moved from summer into fall, and this is perfect for this moment.
You know, I will say first of all, Brittany and I really enjoyed it. It
Mhm.
was the thing that I had to get out of my mind when you see, and this is an ignorant comment, everybody, but when I have the Marvel tag, I'm thinking superheroes. You know what I mean? And that's not what this story is about. So it was I just had to kind of shift my paradigm and say, just kind of forget that it's Marvel. And I know Marvel does other things. I'm saying that's why I said it's an ignorant comment, because the Agatha, story obviously comes from comic books. But I'm thinking it was. I just had to put Marvel to the side and actually even kind of WandaVision to a degree. I just had to. Yes, it's like they kind of reminded you who she was and why we're there, but then I think quickly just went, you know, separated from WandaVision. Um,
Mhm.
it was like I said, so we enjoyed it. But immediately you're just thinking of like you're watching. Oh, what was the? Uh, they'll just I mean name any like late '90s, early 2000s. Supernatural witches show.
Like Charmed.
Charmed. Yeah, right. Um, so yeah, I mean, like I said, it was interesting. I didn't think it was as slow of a burn, Dave, as you mentioned. Um, you said it was kind of a slow burn at the beginning, but I was expecting
Episode
it.
one in particular, there's just there's not. I guess where I came at it from was that there's not a lot of point to it, really, ultimately, because you're not really catching people up. If you've watched WandaVision or if you've not watched WandaVision, um, whether you've seen that or not, you're going to be kind of like a little baffled during the course of the first episode. And the payoff of the first episode is that none of this is real, and now we're to the real part of the story. So, like, it's disappointing on that level, right? But like, I sort of like have come around on it a little bit, and I've thought about like the Wizard of Oz and like that sort of motif. Like all those characters, um, save basically her and the other witch, were boring. The whole thing was boring and just like drab. The way it was shot, it was just like I'm not interested in this pretend version of the world. I'm not. I know that it's like a prison for her or her in her own head. And I know that it's not real, but I'm also still sort of bored by it. It's not compelling to me, but like taking that as sort of like a motif, as like she breaks free like Wizard of Oz style, like now you're in the real stuff, and then that's when the series just sort of takes off. And so like you wouldn't really have, at least like when I think back on it now, I don't know that I would have enjoyed episode 2 as much as I did if it hadn't been preceded by the first show.
So did and I saw an article. I saw a headline, and I didn't read the article because I didn't want to get really spoiled by what was going to happen with Agatha all along because I didn't watch it until we didn't watch it till yesterday. Um, did Marvel confirm that Wanda is dead? Because at the end of the Multiverse of Madness, it was kind of like, I mean, she blew up, but it's like maybe she's not. But did they confirm that she's dead?
They did because what's her name? Aubrey Plaza's character. I forget her name. Uh, by the way, she
You
tremendous.
got
I
to get
love
her
her.
character's name right, because I was referring to her as the other witch, but yeah.
But yeah, basically, she does tell her that when Wanda died, they trapped Agatha in the spell in Westview that she had been trapped under, which basically, Wanda did to Agatha what Agatha had done to Wanda in order to steal power, and so that was like poetic justice. So I think that's why. I mean, like I said, they started out that way because they wanted to kind of tie it back to WandaVision, but I think they recognized that they couldn't hold that for too long. So it's
Rio
interesting.
Vidal. Rio
Rio,
Vidal.
Rio Vidal. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, at first, I didn't recognize Silver Plaza. It took me a few minutes to recognize it. But again, they were leaning very heavily on those 2000s Danish crime drama tropes. And then they recognized it, like Dave said, you have to move away from it because that's not what we came here to do. And again, this is a show that's leaning heavily on Catherine Hahn's charm and personality. And like it just made me think this is the Marvel version of what you call it, Hocus Pocus.
So Dave, do you think they confirmed Wanda dead, or is that just are they just kind of a we think she's dead? That because it, I mean, It was during the
It's a
first episode
misdirect. Yeah,
when things were kind of wonky. Go ahead.
I think it's a misdirect. I don't know that. I, I honestly don't know that it's confirmed that Olsen is back yet for the Vision slash Ultron series that we're going to get eventually. Um, but I think she is. Of course, that could be flashbacks and stuff, but I I I don't think she's dead. But I think we're meant to believe that she's dead, and I think there's a like a version of death in comic book movies that we're all familiar with, where you're like you're only
Nobody's really
mostly
gone.
dead.
Yeah.
Nobody ever really, nobody ever truly dies in comic books.
Yeah,
Nobody.
so that
Even
would be
even
my guess.
yeah. Honestly, I think in the entire history of comic books, only Gwen Stacy, and they find a way to bring her back in multiverses and whatnot. But Gwen Stacy is the only one character that's managed to stay dead, dead. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, no. One other. Uncle Ben.
Uncle
Uncle
Ben,
Ben
yeah,
is
it's
Uncle
always
Ben is he's the
Peter.
only Uncle Ben, because they've even brought back like Bruce Wayne's parents, that kind of thing. So, with alternate storylines and multiverses, nobody's ever truly dead except for Uncle Ben.
Except for people that Peter cares about. Those are the only people who
Exactly.
die for
I
real.
I will say, again, without I mean, we're excited to see the next episode. They hooked
Mhm.
us on this is going to be what seemingly a fun, like you said, hocus pocus, charmed, whatever in it. We liked the characters of the other witches that are parts of the coven. I mean, even the kid sidekick was funny, and lent some. It just seems like it's going to be an enjoyable series. I have no idea where it's going to go. I mean, she's trying to get her powers back. I get that. And I like just not knowing what the end point is going to be and how are they going to get there. Um, so yeah.
The musical elements with the Patti LuPone and
Mhm.
the song that they wrote, just like
Uh,
Chef's Kiss, Pitch Perfect.
Yeah, Britt already
Wick,
downloaded it. Yeah.
yeah, Wiccan is adorable. Um, like everybody in this for so far is just like crushing it, and like the typical backlash on the internet is happening of it's for women and it's not for us, and I'm like, are you sort of brain dead because it's just enjoyable, it's just fun and entertaining. So far there's not like a big message there other than like, oh, a story about witches can be kind of entertaining, can't it?
Yeah.
by the way, what do you think is the secret with the team? The young guy who
You mean
helped.
why she can't hear like his?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Like, because it's,
yeah,
at first they showed the little seal lips kind of special effect when he said his name.
yeah.
Or
And then when he was telling his story, the radio got really loud. Well, he got really,
he got really muted.
muted.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Exactly. So clearly there's some magic or something going on, and it's a mystery. But what do you think's going on there? Because he's the one who helps break her out of it, out of the prison she's in.
I think he's doing that. That's my
Mm.
theory, is that he's doing that to her, and as a way of protecting himself and his motives in this whole situation, um, as a way of manipulating her in a way we don't know yet what the ultimate motive is. But um, that's my little pet theory there.
But what's interesting is that she's even going, "What's up with this?"
Right.
Yeah.
So she's on our side on that part. It's like, why is this happening? So yeah, it's probably one of the what is it, the what do they call it? Was it the seven?
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
the Salem Seven. The
Salem
Salem
Seven.
Seven.
I mean, I guess I didn't count all the people in the robes, so I don't know. Maybe they're using him to manipulate her or whatever. I don't know. But that's what I just like. I don't know. So it's like I'm anxious, and this is better than the start is better than WandaVision. Maybe it's because we have gone through WandaVision, but I'll never forget those first two episodes of WandaVision. I was like, Britt and I looked at each other and said, this better go someplace dang quick because they almost lost me. I mean, little things were going on This is a little bit more. Um, there's still some of those little like what's going on here moments, but they're moving into the story a heck of a lot quicker. So,
Like I said, they sort of got it out of their system in that first episode. That was the WandaVision episode where, oh, we're in an alternate reality and how real are things and you don't know.
and I
And
like the opening credits, by the way, were all the character names, like the people from Westview. That was kind of fun.
that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't know unless we have something earth shattering more to say about Agatha all along. We haven't talked in our group chat, so can we have something just kind of spontaneous here? Did you guys watch the Thunderbolts trailer?
We did.
I haven't-
I did.
I did. I did.
You haven't yet. Okay, well then we will save that for next week. We'll talk about the Thunderbolts trailer. Lego Rebuild the Galaxy. First, okay, so I guess I'll just say, what do you think? Because I said last week, I said it was cute, and it was better than and what I thought was going to be. Um, and I like the fact that they had 4 episodes. It wasn't a like, Halloween special, one and done, hurry everything up. Um, Seems like they could tell a little bit more of a story. Um, I won't get into any more specifics than that, but I just want to ask what you guys think of this?
I don't know, man. It's fine.
I like.
I feel in a lot of respects I'm not the target demographic. I mean, like I got kids. They're we watched it as a family. It's good. It's entertaining.
You're not going to go watch it again.
I don't think that I will probably go watch it
But
again.
let me ask you this then. How about
Okay.
it compared to other Lego things that they've done, Star Wars Lego things that they've done?
Mm. Um, you remember that? What was it? The Freemaker Adventures. I kind of liked that. I think I liked that one a little bit more. The holiday special one, I was kind of mad on. Um, I don't know, like the Lego humor, it's a little hit or miss for me. Like sometimes I'm like, ha ha ha, look at that, that's so clever, and other times, okay, I get it. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm probably a little more meh on it than you guys were, but there's nothing wrong with it.
Now, don't get me wrong.
And
I'm not saying it's
yeah,
Citizen Kane. I'm
yeah,
saying that
yeah,
it was cute and it was
yeah.
a little bit better than I thought it was going to be. I was kind of expecting, again, we it was kind of marketed as Star Wars What If, and I think what I told you guys last week, it's like if you put the head of one character on the body of another, and it wasn't like, um, what happens if there is a Darth Jar Jar? How did the dominoes fall? It was just this galaxy has a Darth Jar Jar. This
Yeah.
galaxy has a lot of Sith. Like in, but so I thought that was just kind of interesting. It felt like a kid playing with toys.
Well, I think an important difference between the series is that you're talking about like the what if scenario. In the Marvel show, it sort of resets every week or every show, every episode. You're led to a new scenario with new mixing and matching of characters and powers and scenarios. And with this, it was all sort of one cohesive story over the course of 4 episodes. Um, and where we sort of thought it might be more of the um, maybe chaotic from episode to episode. Maybe going in, I thought like, oh, we're going to get a new version of the galaxy this week. It was not that, but I think where they sort of kept it interesting was like with reveals that were unexpected. Like, oh, here's another interesting factoid about this version of the galaxy. Greedo and Leia are dating. Like
And
little things
Greedo
like
was wearing Han's clothes.
that. Like
Which makes
yeah,
Sahan turn bad.
yeah, right. Like
Somebody's
yeah. Well, that whole thing. that was clever, right? And a lot of that stuff's clever. They were able to sort of hone in on the little details that you may not have expected to see, and continue to surprise you over the course of the run. But I think to your point, Aaron, if it had run like way too many episodes, it might have gotten stale.
The
I think.
I will say the bloodthirsty Ewoks piloting, you know, TIE fighter mashup things was just like I loved that. Fredo, what do you think of the 4 episode?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it more than Dave, possibly because I mean, first of all, we had talked a little bit about it, but more than that, I kind of go into these Lego Star Wars things knowing that it's very much aimed at kids. So I not necessarily. You're right. I'm not looking for Citizen Kane. I'm looking for enjoyable, and I think they kind of get at that. And it was fun. It was funny. I love all the word, mash up ways that they, remix things. Like, Luke Skywalker's now the world's greatest pod racer, and he's kind of like a beach bum. But he's also
Yeah,
rich enough that he can hire bounty hunters everywhere. C-3PO is now a bounty hunter who is like the best bounty hunter in the galaxy. Palpatine and Vader are Jedi, and but they're also very much staying back. So
Jabba the Hutt is a
it's
Jedi as well. That was awesome too.
right, and and then was it Yoda at the end? That's villain or whatnot? No, it's Baby Grogu with Landalorian.
Yes,
So, again, it's basically like you said. They took all the toys, they popped the heads, they popped the costumes, they remastered. They took the spaceships. They took the TIE fighter cockpit, put the X-ray cockpit in, and swapped it around. Given the brevity of it, 4 episodes, 30 minutes, it's really cute. It's harmless and it's fun. So I take it as that. I take it as, don't have kids. I don't know. If I had kids and I set them down, I think they would enjoy it, and I would have enjoyed it with them. But that's right. Now, to Dave's point, would I go back and watch it? Probably not. But then again, not everything Sergeant Pepper. Sometimes all you need to hear is Dancing Queen, and this is Dancing Queen. I'm fine with that.
so Dave, you're right. The three of us are not their target demographic for Lego Star Wars. Did your kids enjoy it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Because
Um,
that's the other thing is that I mean a lot of the Star Wars stuff that has been coming out, the live action, I mean the Disney Plus stuff is pretty heady and geared towards us. And that's why I like the occasional Lego thing for, again, for the littles, you know. So yeah, but again, the thing I don't like, I guess I compare this, like you said, to the holiday special, which was kind of the similar thing where she was kind of going in into the past, and then I had both old Luke and young Luke working together. This again, I liked how the 4 episodes allowed for a little bit more breathing room for the story. Um, Jedi Bob, I like that as well. That was
Mhm.
and I love how they got the character voices as well. You got Ahmed Best doing
Go Jar Jar.
Darth Jar Jar. You had Mark Hamill doing Luke Skywalker. We had even uh, Kelly Marie Tran, I think, doing Darth
Darth
Rose,
Tico.
right?
Mhm.
Was it Darth Tico? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I think they called that Darth Rose Tico. Yeah, but yeah. So yeah, they were able to get the bulk of the voices and actors from sequels and some of the other stuff to come back. Was that really Mark Hamill? That may have been
Yeah,
Mark Hamill.
but
So yeah.
but the thing that okay, so let's get heady here for just a minute. One of the big kind of aha moments, I suppose, but anyway, one of the big takeaways was, you know, one of the characters I think saying, what, okay, you think your version of the galaxy is the greatest. Maybe we're happy with this version of the galaxy. And that makes you think about this whole, when you talk about the multiverse, it's like,
Hmm.
there's a couple things. It's like, do we automatically assume that this other universe is lesser than the one that we're used to? Do we go into, like, if you think about even the Marvel stuff, it's like in the multiverse stuff, do we automatically, think that, okay, this is bad because it's
Mhm.
different? Um, the other thing I started wondering is like they had like you said, Luke was Jimmy Buffett, beach bum, pod racer. I'm not a hero, type of a deal, but he eventually saves the day, type of a deal. And so it makes you wonder, are some of these, if there is a multiverse, like, are there certain things in a person's core that are always the same, or is there a totally different Aaron in each universe, or is there some common denominator that still is there? So is Luke
Right.
Skywalker the hero in every universe?
It's an interesting question because I mean, both Marvel What Ifs, there's a whole bunch of different stories that deal with uh, alternate universes, different storylines, and the way the stories get played. And it's the kind of thing where it makes you go, okay, you know, we like to think, we are the end result of our actions, of our decisions, of the life we live. If those have been shifted, will we still be the same people? Probably not. But then at the same time, would certain elements of us always remain the same? They would always be tall, that kind of thing. Maybe, maybe not. We don't know. It's fiction gives us the opportunity to speculate and to challenge some of those perceptions. In a lot of instances, it's interesting that regardless of what galaxy they're in, there's always a fight between the Sith and the Jedi. That there's a fight between good and evil. That there's moments where evil is triumphing, and it takes the courage of people to rise up to stop it from taking over. So whether those characters remain the same or shift, seems like the greater story remains the same.
Yeah, what he said.
Well, right on.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like I said, I think it is. Well, I guess as more and more multiverse stories are coming out in different IPs, I guess that's the thing. Now I'm gonna start looking at is like, are there, again, is it inherently this universe lesser than another, or is it perceived that way? And as a viewer, should I go into that saying, you know, all right, this is a not good place, or and how does that affect my viewing? You know, so anyway,
I wouldn't be surprised if some of these sorts of big picture ideas and topics weren't addressed in the MCU and forthcoming multiverse stuff that they're about to embark on, um, with Secret Wars, etc. It's going to be there.
Ooh,
There are probably going to be some ethical questions raised in those stories about, like you said, is this version of this person more important than this other version of this same person, and is my world more important than your world? And um, when push comes to shove and you have to make that call, you have to make that decision,
well, that
like,
was
can you make it?
that was the whole thing in Loki.
Mm-hmm.
The trimming of the branches; those are
Right.
still people living their lives, and still, yeah, and you're just basically eliminating them from existence. And is that, you know, yeah.
well, and that's at the heart of Secret Wars, because the whole point of Secret Wars is that universes are colliding, and the only way you can determine which universe survives and which one dies off is the heroes and villains of one defeat the heroes and villains of the other universe. So it's like automatically creates tension because whoever loses, disappears from existence, and that's not necessarily something that people like to call themselves heroes like to consider. I was just mentioning Doom. We're going to get an alternate Robert Downey Jr. now. Um, I do think the MCU is probably an easier um, environment to tell these kind of stories. I think that it's much harder to do it in Star Wars because, particularly with Star Wars, let us be fair, there is such a thing as people desperately hanging on to quote unquote canon. the canon, the holy script, and from the maker. And it's that kind of thing that people challenge or don't feel comfortable with the idea of, well, you can't, they can get away with it at Lego because okay, it's Lego, it's for kids, who gives a crap? Excuse me. But that idea, you can't do that story. You can bring, say, an alternate universe Han Solo into episode 9. You can do, okay, we're going to tell Andor, and then at the end of Andor, have alternate Luke Skywalker and Han Solo pop out of nowhere and go destroy the Death
No,
Star
but that is
to
how you
save.
get Alden Ehrenreich playing Han Solo in a later episode. Um, I will say, I wish that they wouldn't have spoiled in the trailer all the clone troopers being Admiral Akbar.
It's a trap.
However, I do love the line when the main character, I can't remember what his name was, Ziggy.
Oh,
He,
Siggy, yeah.
He says, aren't you supposed to be dead?" It was like just kind of these little throwaways, yeah, it was funny. Well,
Hmm.
anyway, yeah, not a lot to talk about, but it was new content for us to discuss. I think maybe next week we'll talk about Thunderbolts because you all need to educate me on Thunderbolts and what I'm getting into, and the trailer looked neat. We'll talk about that a little bit more next time. But let us know what you thought about if you've watched Agatha, or if you watched the Lego Rebuild the Galaxy. Um, you can hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, Street Corner, whatever. Remember to light a candle for your team, especially the Saints. And until then, we will say who dat.
Who dat?
Yeah.
Everybody have a great week.
McConkey.